Okay, what I wanted to do is review week 2. What we were talking about is creating a document. And this is our basic. We have our doc type, we have our opening head section, closing head section, body section. This is the section that all the copy would go into. So assuming that we want to, let's put this image in here. It's called abstract. You would just type the image tag and then the source equals, and then whatever the image name is, .jpg, close quotes, space, slash, boom. There's our image tag with referring to the image file name. I'm going to save this right here. If I were to open this up and let's bring this over here, we can close that out. It'll bring it. There's our page. Simply put when I put an image underneath it. We're going to slide this over here. Want to put text in here, have a paragraph tag, and then I'm going to close the tag and save this. Go back over here, refresh, and there's the text underneath. We also covered divisions. So let's assume that we wanted to have create a box layout on this page, a box model, and we want to have different elements shifted around the page. The easiest way is to include a division using the div tag, and then we close underneath it with the closing div tag. Now this alone won't do very much. What we need to do is to style this somehow, and what we can do is to create an external style sheet, and by that all we have to do is basically create we would link to it, and then we'd create an extra document. So I actually have one started here. This is an external style sheet. Basically all I did was name the file. In fact, it's right up here, mystyles.css. That's what I named the style sheet. So I put some basic styling elements in here. I have the body selector. I want to have the color of the text to be this off gray. I want to have the background color of the page to be black. And then I have another element over here, an ID for a division called pick, and I wanted to have the div element in 100 pixels from the left margin. So in order to make this work right here, I'd have to go over my div item here, and ID equals, in quotes, the word pick. What this is going to do is to shift everything over here. So if I save this and I save this, first nothing will happen on this page right now if I refresh this page, because even though I declared an external style sheet, I have to link it to this page somehow. And the way we do it is inside the head section. I use the link tag, and you're going to reference the file. So I have the link tag. I reference through hyperlinking to my external style sheet. It's a style sheet and it's text.css. So let's save this. Now it's referring and linking to this external style sheet. So every other page from now on, I can just add this link in here on every other page, and it would link to this style sheet here. So all these styles would pertain to every other page. We saved everything. Let's refresh our browser, and boom, we have a black background. Our text changed to soft gray, and it shifted over left 100 pixels from the left. So that's one way of positioning that div element. And I could do the same thing if I wanted it to shift down. I can say margin top, and again, this is very basic here, colon, and then let's say 200 pixels from the top. Save, refresh, boom, there it is. So that's one way of playing with positioning, using very basic positioning using style sheet. The other thing that we covered was to have some unordered list or ordered list. You could have done either. Using the list tag and the unordered list tag. Let's go down here. We're going to close that, and then we have the first item, and I close the list tag there, and just this, for the sake of experimentation here, second item, and I close this list tag. So I have first item, second item, and I close. So here's our element, our unordered list element. Inside the unordered element I have two list items, first and second item. If I were to save this page, what this does is it puts a bulleted item in front of the words here. So let's refresh that. Boom. Now notice that it's underneath the division. If I wanted to include this into its own element, and I can also style that at some point, and I can play with the positioning on this as well. ID equals and well, actually, yeah, whatever. I'll just put that. And then inside the style sheet, I would have to create another position, so I could do, you know, something similar. Let's just copy this down here. This one I'm going to say 50 from the left, and let's do 10 from the top. Even though, now if I save this, this is pretty cool, because even though this item is down below here, it's underneath that. Notice it's on the page. It's underneath this item here. I'm telling it to go 50 from the left, 110 from the top. This is going to be shifted up. So if I refresh the page here, oops, did I save this? There we go. It is underneath. It should have been shifted up to the top. What I can do is say margin top. Let's do minus 210. Notice where it went, because it's listed underneath this element in order, okay? But if you want it above, even though it's the content is below the other item, if you say, because it can go in negative directions, negative 210, it's going to go 10 pixels above, because this is 200 from the top, it'll go 10 pixels above this one. And that's one way of playing around. Not necessarily that's good practice, but that's one way of dealing with positioning. You can move the div elements above, around, into each other, and you can play with the ordering in that fashion. So that's one way of playing with positioning on the page. And hopefully this will wrap up week 2, and we can go on from here.